Hello, everyone. Rurikhan here, coming at you with another episode of the Frozen Sodium Throne podcast. This is episode 11, and I'm here with Accolonn. Accolonn, how you doing, buddy?
Tired. Monday morning. Kind of suck more.
Dude.
Luckily, there's a lot of news. You know, the podcast gives us an opportunity to look back over the week at everything that's happened, look forward to everything that might happen. And the way the gaming industry is going right now, every week is a dumpster fire waiting to fucking happen. You know,
Pretty much.
It makes things interesting at the very least.
It's for those of you who don't know, Accolonn actually woke up at like 6 in the morning today. He's like messaging me, "Hey, you want to do the podcast early?" I'm like, "I'm not even home. What are you talking about?"
Yeah, I changed my sleep schedule just so I have more hours in the day to do shit.
Yeah.
It's weird when you wake up at like 11. And then, I don't know, the day just
Yes.
doesn't feel the same.
Yes, I remember when I used to be able to do that. I can't anymore because of stomach pains in the morning. But yeah, I love to like wake up at 11. The problem is when you then wake up, you're like, man, I feel like I just wasted half of my day and I haven't gotten anything done. It's terrible.
You're not as productive. Definitely not. Even though you technically do have the same amount of hours that you would normally have because you're just going to sleep later, it's just you cannot reach the same level of productivity. Right now, I'm making videos every fucking morning. I'm doing live streams. You know, I'm up and down. I'm taking editing. I'm doing all that shit. And I still get everything done within the day. Whereas when I used to wake up at 11, 12,
you can't,
it just felt like nothing was getting done. Half the shit would just always pile up. And
so now I'm going to teach you. I'm going to teach you the second trick. The second trick is after you wake up, you go for a walk. You walk for like 30 to 50 minutes, and then when you come back, you have yourself a coffee, and you're going to be even more productive. I'm not joking. Just like doing a little bit of movement before you start your day makes so much difference. It's impressive, actually.
I could probably do that, you know, because I go to the gym at 1 o'clock in the afternoons, but that's already 6-7 hours after I woke up.
Yeah.
So I could probably do
if you can do gym, if you could do gym in the morning, that would even be better.
Yeah, but going to the gym in the morning sucks. It is stupidly busy. Last time I've been there is like 7 o'clock in the morning, and then it's fucking packed.
Everybody knows the special trick to get your day started is to do the exercise early on.
Yeah, but the reason I hate that and why I don't understand why people would want to do that. So I want to go on the squat machine, right? I need to squat, but it's busy, and there's like a fucking queue for it. So I say, okay, I'm here at the gym. I'm going to be here for 3 fucking hours trying to get my exercises done. No thanks. So go at 1. It's quiet as shit. It's like 5 people in there just fucking wasting time.
Yeah.
So it just makes life a hell of a lot easier. But no, I'm going to try it tomorrow. Like literally tomorrow I'm going to wake up, go for a walk. Because I mean, I live in one of the most beautiful places on earth. Guaranteed. Literally walking outside my door, it's mountains all the way around me. Like just fucking mountain ranges all around me. The beach to that side is absolutely gorgeous. So I could just go for a walk every day and just clear my head, you know.
There you go.
Get up and going. So yeah,
that's how to get it done. But this is pretty soon people are going to think, what is this, like the friggin' health and fitness podcast like by 2 fat guys? Like it's the health and fitness podcast by 2 obese people. Like what the fuck is going on? But we're going to talk about obviously some of the stuff that has been happening. There's more Dragonflight happenings. Obviously they've updated it just like we thought they would. Like they said they would, pretty much.
Yeah.
And they've been serving new zones and stuff like that. I've actually been trying to steer clear as much as possible. I don't know if you've been trying to steer clear as well to kind of like avoid spoilers.
No, I mean, part of my job is covering spoilers. I've always covered spoilers. When it comes to story, the problem is if you're not first, you're lost. Right?
Yeah, of course.
It doesn't matter that even if I decided, look, I'm only going to cover this as soon as the game launches. By the time the game launches, everyone that watches YouTube have already seen everything. So there's nothing new. So there's no reason to click on the videos. So you basically want to be first, which means as soon as spoilers come out, I cover it. But I try to sprinkle the spoilers with speculation. So I would never just straight up give people spoilers. I'll give, say, 60% of the spoilers, keep some of it hidden, just enough to sort of fuel some speculation.
So, given that I haven't been watching any of that stuff, because like to me, I'm more interested in what are they doing from a philosophical standpoint? What are they doing from a gameplay standpoint? And the story, I want to experience it when I actually play the game, because otherwise, I already know myself, and what is going to happen is if I already know the whole story of the game, I'm just going to be bitter the whole time as I'm playing through it. I'm like, I already know this happened. You talked about this 7 months ago. God damn it. You released all this information to the world 7 months ago, and now I'm not invested anymore. So, but since I haven't been following it, I'm curious as to how much, just like, don't tell me what the story is, obviously, but like, how much of the story do you feel that it is going to be revealed by the time that they do all of the zones unlocked and all of that stuff, and how much stuff are they holding close to their chest?
Currently, from what I can tell, all of it. Will be revealed.
Oh God!
We've already gotten some major spoilers around the Drakthir. And when I say major, I do mean anyone that knows the lore at all will understand just how major those spoilers were. Now, Blizzard did say that they are experimenting with more holding things back. So big storylines that may not make it onto the alpha until it's ready. So maybe there will be some major storylines that we won't get to see until, whenever, until the game launches. And that could be cool. It would be interesting to see if Blizzard, because if I were to talk about compromise, so Blizzard is never not going to have an alpha, but if a good compromise would be have the introduction story completely spoiled and tastable and all that shit, but then keep the conclusions to all of the storylines secret. So allow the conclusions to never be reached until the game actually launches. That could be cool, I think, because that does then serve as a hype thing. Oh my God, I saw the story, but I don't know how it ends, And I remember this story, and I don't know how this ends, and this story, and I don't know how this
could just like say, for instance, the last 10 quests or something like that, or the last 20 quests, depending on how many quests it is per zone. Let's say let's put a percentage on it. Like the last 30% of a quest line is not accessible, and that is where a lot of like the satisfaction of seeing the story would be. And I think that would be a much better way of doing it. Even though I would prefer nothing at all, to be honest.
I would. No,
I kind of feel like you don't need to test that stuff what you need to test is like, okay, we need to test talent trees, we need to test like how's dragon riding work, how's all of this stuff gonna go down, and
I would say there's so many easy ways of doing that as well. So Blizzard right now has this nasty habit of, and it's not nasty, but it's nasty if you combine it with alpha and beta testing. But storylines will conclude in dungeons. The problem is dungeons are tested on the alpha, which means even if you were to say 30% of it isn't going to be spoiled, it's just going to be like 30% before the last 10%, right? That you're not going to see. So you're going to see this gap in the story, but you're still going to see how it ends. All Blizzard needs to do there is move the dungeons earlier in the storyline. So let the dungeons be part of the storyline, but not the conclusion of the storyline.
I'd say all they have to do is not test the dungeons with the players, test them internally. I mean, come on. It's one thing about the raids. I get it. It's like, okay, we can't field 20 people that are good enough to play this raid because nobody in our development team wants to play this goddamn game nowadays. But it's like, you're talking about a 5-people dungeon. You can't get 5 people together to do a goddamn dungeon. Come on. You can test those dungeons internally. Don't give me a break.
Like I said, this is compromise from my side because personally, I would prefer no testing. And before people jump out of their fucking skins, there are plenty of games that have zero testing and it works. Because they test it internally. They make sure that it works internally. Tasting is not a one-shot bullet, to everything. Because if it was, Dragonflight would not have been littered with bugs. Shadowlands would not have been littered with bugs. We have this extensive fucking test period, right? Alpha, beta. And then the game still launches fucking buggy.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I know why this is. And it has nothing to do with Blizzard being lazy or Blizzard not wanting to fix bugs. It's because players, contrary to popular belief, are not qualified QA testers. And that's why they don't get all the bugs. Because the point of a QA tester, now, many people do not fucking understand this and it drives me nuts. So, let's say you run into a problem, okay? You ran on a road and then suddenly you skipped like five meters ahead. Just fucking 5 meters ahead. What the hell happened? Was that lag? Was that a bug? What the fuck just happened there? But I blinked like 5 meters. Well, for a player, this will either not register, so they'll just be like, oh, that was weird, and then keep running, or they'll make a bug where they go, I blinked 5 meters while running. All right, that's great. What the fuck is anyone supposed to do with that information? A QA tester, on the other hand, and I know because I have a friend that is a QA tester for a different company, they have actual game design knowledge. Like, they know how games are designed. They kind of know how the engine works. So they immediately, in their report, because they're paid to fucking pick this up, they go, right, on this literal spot, so they give the coordinates. I blinked up to these coordinates. I retested it multiple times, and it didn't seem to happen again. But then on the 9th or 8th time, or 8th or 9th time, this happened again. I expect or suspect that this, or this might be the problem here, based on all of my testing.
It's a very different type of feedback, yeah.
Yes, it is a lot more in-depth, and it takes hours. This is why companies that have proper QA teams have QA teams upwards 500 to 1,000 people quality assuring the game. Because one QA, so this is actually what my friend told me. They were testing a game where you shoot, but one of the guns would just not be accurate in certain instances. Like, most of the time it would shoot perfectly fine, but then there were times, one of them they told me about was, if you're in cover in a very specific building and you leave cover to shoot, the gun will literally shoot all over the place. Like, the bullets just do not go where they're supposed to go. And his job was to basically, he changed all of his armor pieces. He changed his position multiple times. He spent almost 12 hours inside cover, leaving cover, shooting, inside cover, shooting, just to figure out what could possibly be wrong here, so that he could give a detailed report of why this gun is breaking in this building with this cover shooting at this thing. That's how in-depth quality assurance happens.
It
what
reminds
fucking
me,
player will do that?
It reminds me a little bit of when I do my my guides for Monster Hunter. I'll just be in the training dummy, hitting it with a weapon like for time on end to figure out, okay, if I do this combo, it's a little bit better than that combo. And the worst part is then after I do all of that testing, somebody comes along and they're like, no, actually, if you do this other combo that I wouldn't have thought of, it's even better. And I'm like, God damn it.
It's what I used to do with Warlock videos. So my Warlock videos would be about 45 minutes to an hour per video. The testing, however, that went into that singular video would be between 18 and 36 hours. Like 2 to 3 days easy of tasting, just sitting on a dummy and trying every single possible fucking solution to get to the best one. Players don't see that. They just go, oh my God, this guy fucking 45 minutes. You can't learn a class in 45 minutes. It's like, yeah, dude, I am well aware.
Exactly. You can't do it. But so basically the point here is it'd be a whole lot easier if Blizzard would just like test stuff internally with proper QA as opposed to just relying on alphas and betas. But it is like a lot of people have been stating as well. The alpha is more kind of like a marketing stunt at this point than anything else, which it is what it is.
I think yes and no. This time around, it feels like Blizzard really is treating the alpha the way that an alpha should be, right? They're responding quite heavily to criticism, to feedback. changing or at least noting that there is feedback, which is usually the first fucking right step. In the past, Blizzard wouldn't even note feedback.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that there's a balance to be struck, and I hope that Blizzard doesn't go too far in one direction because, clearly in the past they've made the mistake that, we just don't listen to what you guys say at all because we don't care. We have our direction that we want to take the game in, and this is the way that it's going to be. And I think it's important for the developers to a certain extent to still have a little bit of that at least, because if you just start going by the will of the masses, then it's like for instance, I would instantly push and say like, hey, warriors suck, like fix warriors. Like that's all I care. I don't give a crap about your hero classes. I don't give a crap about death knights or whatever the crap, like just fix my warriors. That's all, and that's the problem. Everybody's going to have their own inherent biases that are going to be revealed. And at some point, it's just going to be a cacophony of voices, and it becomes very hard for them to choose what is right and what is wrong. But I definitely feel like they needed to hear more than what they did back in like Shadowlands and stuff, because Shadowlands was such a travesty.
I mean, the biggest one for me was absolutely BFA. So if you want to just understand how little Blizzard gave a fuck about the feedback from you and me and every player, go back to BFA. So in BFA, players are complaining. I'm one of them. I make forum posts complaining about the Azerite armor. And at that point, I wasn't really complaining about the Azerite armor. I was more just saying, I really hope that this isn't what the raid armor looks like, because the questing stuff is fucking boring. Island expeditions, really boring. I keep writing forum posts and blue posts, feedback posts saying, hey, Blizzard, hopefully there's more to islands than this, because this is really fucking baseline. Then the game goes live, and what does Blizzard do? They delete the beta forums. Just fucking delete. Control F. Gone. It's like imagine someone has like a pile of dust in their house, and they just like sweep it under the rug, and then the rug's like this big. Exactly. Like Blizzard literally just deleted, and they've never done that before. They just nuked it.
Listen, if there's no feedback to listen to, there's no feedback to consider. We just delete the feedback and it's gone.
That's exactly what I think they did. I think they went, screw it. If we delete the beta forums now, people will complain, but they won't be able to point back at them complaining during beta already and be like, you guys have to fix this. So, because in BFA, they kept doing this fucking annoying thing where they would go, you guys should give us feedback, but please make it constructive. It's like, dude, what does that even mean? Constructive criticism, like constructive feedback. What do you want from us? It isn't fun. I don't know how else to fucking explain it to you. Island expeditions suck dick. How do you make it better? I can redesign it for you.
Let me tell you my BFA experience. I was playing Protection Warrior, and basically Protection Warrior was entirely dependent in order to not even just be good, but to just be viable. It was entirely dependent on one Azerite trait, to the point where I don't remember what the item levels were, but if there was a 100 item level difference, you still wouldn't take the new item unless it had the trait. And that trait was something about Thunderclap. Because without the Thunderclap trait, you were not tanking as a warrior. Like, I tried, and it was just like completely atrocious. It was terrible, and you couldn't friggin' do anything. And so I would be running around in full, like, epic gear and stuff, and all good. And like, let's say my average item level would be like 500 on each item, and then I'd have like a 430 item in my shoulders, which would have that stupid Azerite trait, because my class would simply not work without it. Azerite was completely atrocious. It was terrible. It was a terrible system.
The sad bit is the constructive feedback that they kept asking for would have required a complete reimagining and rework of much of the game, which you can't really expect players to do, because how do you fix island expeditions? Well, in that state, they're not really fixable. They're boring. They do not serve the purpose that they're supposed to serve, so they don't work. Same with Warfronts.
Warfronts was another one that, like, without it being a PvP thing, it just
Yeah.
It made no sense. Like I seem to remember the way the Asmongold had to do some really like big effort in order to not win. It's like,
yeah,
listen, we got to figure out a way to not win Warfront so that we can prove that they can be lost. Like,
I mean,
Jesus
it basically required you and the whole team not to do anything. You basically went in there and you just stood on the base and waited for them to beat you. It would take a long time, but they will eventually beat you. Blizzard eventually fixed that with, I can't remember if it was heroic or mythic Warfronts that they launched, which was actually a lot harder and a little bit more fun. The problem is that fix came way too late. At that point, most people were disenchanted with Warfronts to begin with. This time around, it seems like Blizzard is much quicker on the trigger. They seem to really pay attention to what players want and what players are asking for. But this again is a sort of dual-edged blade, because players will ask for many good things, but players will also ask for many stupid things.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
If you listen to all of the players, your game is not going to fucking work, right? Because you're going to have it be easy and hard at the same time to do the same fucking thing, just because everyone had their own feedback on what they thought was going to work. So it is up to Blizzard here to sort through the feedback and see what of it is workable and what isn't workable, what will absolutely destroy the game if it just continues on this path, so to speak. So yeah. I'm a little, let's say, scared for what the future of Blizzard is going to be, because anything can go wrong at this point, you know?
Yeah.
Anything can go wrong.
So one of the things that apparently has been going on with the community is people asked Preach whether or not he had alpha access.
Yes.
And Preach said, no, I don't have alpha access. And then people went on a rampage with kind of like a lot of people saying that Preach should have alpha access and a lot of people saying that Preach shouldn't have alpha access. And this to me is completely and absolutely ridiculous. I think that for starters, I think that Blizzard purposefully didn't give him access to kind of like, you know, allure him into the table or something like that. Because had they just given him alpha access, it wouldn't be a big deal, right?
Yeah.
He should be like, oh, maybe I'll check it out. Maybe I won't. It's whatever. But with them not giving him alpha access, because according to what they were saying to him or whatever was like, oh, well, you said in your video you didn't want it to, which is not what he said, because anyone that watches that video, that's not what he said at all. And it's like, to me, for starters, this was a fault on Blizzard's side, because they should have given him access, because they've given it to God knows how many creators. They shouldn't have given me access because, like, I don't create that much content about World of Warcraft. I feel like they should have given you access because you create a bunch of content about WoW, but
they'll never give me access. I am so blacklisted by Blizzard. It is not even funny.
I don't know.
I am blocked on Twitter by basically 60% of Blizzard developers.
And so is Asmongold, and he still got access to the alpha.
Yeah, but remember, Asmongold is like 20 times my size.
Yeah. Okay, so Asmongold is huge. But, you know, the point is, like, Blizzard should reach out and give alpha access to as many creators as possible, including people that have left, particularly people that have left. Like, they reached out and gave a code to Zepla, which I was like, oh, well, that's weird, but cool.
Yeah.
But I think that's cool if they reach out to people that, you know, maybe have played the game in the past and aren't playing the game right now. I think that is even better, because particularly for them in terms of a marketing thing, it's even better because then if they get those people back in, then that is obviously going to be a big deal. If people actually, you know, people that have left the game in the past because they're like, I don't like what this game is going through right now, I think the game's bad. And suddenly they go back in and like, you know what, it's actually pretty good right now. That's in their best interest. So them not giving it to Preach was definitely, I kind of feel like a ploy to get him to the table. And then they approached him and they were like, hey, there's all this commotion going on in the forums about you not having a beta key. We know that you're not the one responsible and stuff. And Mike's just like, hey, let's have a meeting. Let's just talk about this. And then they talked about it. And there's before we talk about one thing that Mike brought up in that meeting, I wanted to kind of address the thing like, what do you think on the terms of Preach getting alpha or not getting alpha?
Well, it's simple. What do you want from alpha? Do you want actual feedback that will maybe make your game better? And I say maybe because not all feedback will.
Yeah.
Or do you just want people to see, oh, shiny? And do you only want people that's going to go, oh, shiny? Because if all you want is someone to polish your knob for you, if all you want is players that drop to their knees and give you a nice blowjob and tickle your balls while they're at it, then sure, don't invite someone like Preach, keep him out of the fucking alpha. But if you want genuine feedback, and more specifically, if you want to genuinely fix your standing with the community, giving someone like Preach alpha access is not only like an option, it's almost necessary. Because think about the dub, right? The massive W dub. If Preach tries out alpha and goes, this is fucking good, I love this. I mean, Preach was one of the most outspoken critics of World of Warcraft in Shadowlands. He made that infamous video now where he basically said, I'm done making World of Warcraft content. I still play, right? And people kept fucking going, oh my God, I thought you're done, but you still raid. It's like, dude, I literally in my video fucking said, I still play with my friends because I like playing with my friends. I'm just not making videos about this company anymore because their game is driving me up the fucking wall. And I get that. I fucking feel that, right? I was at that point for a while before I changed my own mind and decided, no, I'm going to focus on things that I like in World of Warcraft and just ignore the shit that I fucking loathe. And that worked out well for me. For Preach, the sad part is his entire brand is based on the game as a whole, the systems. Mine is lore. I can focus on the story all fucking day long. There's so much story to focus on that I actually still love that I don't have to. So I don't make a lot of videos about like Shadowlands lore. Most of my videos is about old lore that I still love and still care about and still think about all the time because that makes me happy. Preach can't do that. His entire channel is based on modern day World of Warcraft systems and shit like that. And those are the things that's pissing him off. So to sit every week making videos about something that fucking drives you nuts is obviously not fun for people. And so Preach decided not to do it anymore. But if he comes back and says, okay, wait, no, I like this, that's fucking huge. So no, he should absolutely have had alpha access. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so there's obviously a group of people in the community, which I always find hilarious when people start acting like this and they just go like, he doesn't deserve it, he betrayed us, like that. Look, there was even a content creator that I'm not going to mention. I was watching a video yesterday and this guy said that, well, in Preach's video he said that he was going to leave World of Warcraft to play Final Fantasy XIV, and I was like, what? It's like, what? Do you people even watch the video? Or is this just like something that somehow spread through the ether? Because what I remember is Preach specifically saying, I'm not sure if it was in that video or if it was in the one afterwards, where he even said, I don't want to go play another MMO right now. I just want to go have some fun and play something else. So like, after he quit World of Warcraft, not only he did not play Final Fantasy XIV, he specifically said he didn't want it to play Final Fantasy XIV.
In fact,
and the only reason he played Final Fantasy XIV was because they put it up as a donation goal for some event that they were doing. And the reward for reaching that donation drive goal was that he would play 14. So
he didn't play Final Fantasy during the hype years, right?
Exactly.
When everyone was fucking playing it. It was his team that put it up as a joke. They made it like the highest donation tier was that he would play Final Fantasy XIV, and they smashed. His community smashed through it. He still argued with his team at the time.
Because he didn't want it to.
Yeah, he was like, I don't want to play.
I don't want to play this weeb game. Yeah,
I don't care about this fucking game.
To me, it's hilarious that there was actually a creator that was making. He said he was gonna quit because he wanted to go play Final Fantasy, and I was like, what the fuck are you talking? What are you people high on? Like, at the very least, watch the videos you are commentating on. For crying out loud, it's friggin' hilarious.
There's something that bugs the living fuck out of me when it comes to gamers these days. And it's not just gamers. It's the whole world have turned into partisan bullshit. Like, everyone chooses their team. And then if you're not with us, you're against us, right? You are the enemy.
I want to point something out because, like, this is something that I'm always very careful about. And that is the overgeneralization of the word gamers, because it's almost become like a pejorative term people like to use, like, oh, gamers, gamers TM, gamers bad. Like that's something that I hear a lot of people say. And I kind of feel like when you are saying that, you're talking about like this minority in the community, right? That's what we're talking about. Yeah. I just want to make it perfectly clear because like whenever people start talking about gamers TM, it pisses the fuck out of me because gaming as a community has done so many great things. Like in terms of, like, for instance, if you remember, there was something that I think it was Matt Plays did in a video or something, because again, of this negative connotation around gamers, and he had like this bunch of statistics about gamers donated this amount of money for this charity. Gamers donated this amount of hardware for these hospital things. Gamers did these events. And yet there's still this negative connotation with the word gamers, and that bothers the living fuck out of me. But yeah, a minority of gamers that pisses you off.
I mean, it's a minority all throughout the world, right? Yeah. Even in politics. The majority of people in politics aren't us versus them.
Well, I don't know about that.
No, I mean, they talk consistently about the silent majority. The silent majority of human beings just want to live their lives and just be happy, right? They don't want to kill all conservatives or kill all liberals or do any of that shit. They just want to be left alone and live their life. That's basically it. Then you have these small minorities on both sides that will basically start a fucking war if you don't agree with them. Now, this is the gamers that I refer to here.
Yeah.
It is your, as I like to refer to them, the WoW Andes, the Final Fantasy XIV Andes. It's the players who make the game part of their personality. So the game is no longer just a game. It is who they are. And if you say anything negative about their game, then you have attacked them personally. And now this is a problem. I hate these people. I despise them. And this is the kind of people that is now attacking Preach. I saw it in the comments on my own video about the Preach thing. So this was before Preach actually got beta access or alpha access. I covered Preach not getting it. And I made my position quite clear on Preach not getting alpha access. And I had people in my comments going, dude, he said like really nasty shit about Blizzard. He burnt that bridge. Fuck him. I'm like, what the fuck? So you're not allowed to say nasty things about a corporation? Are you fucking nuts? Like, in what universe are you not allowed to say nasty things about a corporation? The whole point of liberalism is that we hate corporations because they're soulless, mindless husks. But then you get these people that will go to fucking bat for Blizzard, regardless of what they do. You know, these are the people that sort of go, wait, freedom for Hong Kong? Fuck that. You know, Blizzard was right to support the CCP. I want freedom, but the people in Hong Kong don't deserve it.
Wait, there's people that think like that? What the fuck?
It's not really that
we have failed as a species. That. What the fuck?
It's also, I am being incredibly hyperbolic, but there are people that just sort of, but there's people who, the Hong Kong controversy, people sort of went, well, you know, it's not really Blizzard's, like, Blizzard didn't ban him for saying Hong Kong stuff. They banned him for this, or this. It's like, dude, no. They banned him because of the things. Yeah,
because of China. Yes.
You know, that's the problem. Because they can't defend Blizzard on this point, they change the point. But they'll defend Blizzard no matter what. So they may as well at that point come out and say, well, I don't think Hong Kong deserves freedom. Fuck them. Because that's more honest. At least then you're saying, I want my games, and I don't want people saying bad things about Blizzard. So fuck the Chinese, fuck Hong Kong. Long live the CCP. I mean, that's fine, right? But then you're honest, at least.
I'm just like sitting here thinking about the yellow monetization sign that's going to show up in this video. It is so happening, dude. Susan's going to be like, yep, too political, talks about China, can't have that.
I find it annoying.
Yeah, I agree.
Breach saying negative things about Blizzard is literally his job. That's why people watch his videos, because they know he'll be honest. And he was honest. Blizzard, on the other hand, Alpha isn't some prize that should be handed out to good boys and girls. Alpha is supposed to be about tasting the game. That's the thing that everyone tells me. So then you want people that's been negative about your game to taste the game, because that's how you're going to know if you're doing things right this time. You know? But sadly, there's too many fucking morons in the world that do not see things that way. Anyone, and I'll say this for fucking out, anyone that feels like Breach did not deserve Alpha, these are the people that's the problem with the world. These are the people that will go forth, get married, have kids, and they fucking shouldn't. Because their DNA should not continue. They're too stupid. That's the problem. And I realize this is going to piss a lot of people off, but that's your fucking problem. You need to reevaluate who you want to be. Because why? Why do you not want one of the game's biggest critics to be the guy who changes his mind? How good would that feel?
You would 100% should want that. And the thing is, again, it's about that tribalism thing, because I'm sure that just like we talk about this in World of Warcraft, and again, I want people to understand we are talking about a minority. Like when Accolonn says WoW Andes, he's not like the entire World of Warcraft population. No. WoW Andes is like a small minority of people that all they want is like, you know, you should play WoW and you should not play any other game. Any time that you spend playing something else other than WoW is an absolute betrayal. But very much like this exists in World of Warcraft, this also exists in pretty much any other game. Like it also exists in Final Fantasy XIV. Hell, it exists in Monster Hunter. To give you an idea, as a content creator, is a friend of mine, and he also happens to be Portuguese, which was surprising when I found that. I was like, oh, damn. So, you know, we got in touch and stuff, and we would talk about content and stuff that we were working on. And at one point, this friend of mine played a game called God Eater 3. Now, God Eater is a very different game from Monster Hunter, but kind of like the concept is the same. You go in, you kill a bunch of monster-looking creatures, you get materials, craft more stuff, so on and so forth. And the moment he started making, I think he made 1 or 2 videos on God Eater, then he made a couple of videos on Dauntless, which again, same concept as Monster Hunter. People straight up accused him of betraying the Monster Hunter community because he was playing another game. And I'm just like, bro, what exactly are you talking about? What is wrong with you people? You can't play another video game without being a betrayer of your video game? Like, dude, chill out. These are video games. Variety is a very good thing. Trying out different video games, getting a different perception of things. Like, this was one of the best things about a lot of people leaving World of Warcraft and trying out 14, because now their perspectives have shifted. Where they once only saw World of Warcraft as a viable MMO, they were now like, hey, you know what? There's this other MMO I can go play if World of Warcraft doesn't do right. And that is a very good thing, because now Blizzard no longer has that de facto monopoly that they've enjoyed for God knows how many years, where it's like, oh, what are you going to do? You going to go play another game? You can't. You know we're the only game in town. You have to come play us. That's it. And now players are going to be like, no, I think I'll go play, you know, Final Fantasy, or I'll go play New World, or I'll go, well, probably not New World. Or I'll go play Lost Ark.
I'll go play something else.
No, I'm joking. If you want to play New World, play New World. It's whatever. I had a good time with New World when it launched, but you know they drove that game
for like
into
the first
the ground.
week.
Yeah.
I will say this. The issue, and this is getting very philosophical, but also like a lot deeper than I'm assuming most people tune in for, but it's the religion mindset. And the problem with the religion mindset is it's in every single one of us. Human beings evolved to be religious. We've since decided, well, fuck religion. Most people, at least, not all, but most people decided screw religion. The issue is you can't cheat your brain. Your brain is still religious, whether you are or not. So it will just find something new to make its religion because it wants a religion. This is why, since literally the earliest renditions of man, from our earliest civilizations, each of them had a religious concept. Multiple gods, eventually monotheistic God, but we always had some form of something that we worship. We live now in a post-worship society where most people are saying, well, screw that, I don't believe in the man in the clouds anymore. But now that part of your brain that wants to worship something finds something new to worship. For some people, this is politics. For other people, it's games. It's everything that they do becomes a new religion. And the sad part of that's the mindset that leads to Puritan movements, right? That's the mindset that leads to, well, fuck him, you betrayed us. It's like, no, he did. What the fuck are you talking about? Betrayed you?
I kind of feel like betraying the World of Warcraft community would be to actually just say, no, guys, Shadowlands actually really good. I think that would be the biggest betrayal that any WoW content creator could have done. Would have been like, well, it's actually pretty good. I'm having a lot of fun. I love this game.
The problem is that for most people, that would not be a betrayal, right? For most people, that would be you being true and all that shit. Yeah, because
true.
You are saying the thing that they need to hear, which is not healthy. It's not a healthy society that we're living in currently because we've removed religion and we've replaced it with nothing, which is what Voltaire warned against. Like Voltaire's famous line, God is dead and we have killed him. Most people look at that as sort of like Voltaire going and dabbing on the whole, we managed to defeat religion. If you read the whole passage from Voltaire, he's worried because he doesn't think society can survive without God. He argues that, yes, we've replaced God, we've removed him, but we didn't give a foundation on which to build a new society. And this is going to lead to problems down the road, which is where we are now.
Yeah,
people
very much
have nothing to believe, so they believe everything.
Bro, listen.
I hate it.
Listen.
I fucking hate it.
The best religion I've ever seen, though, was Scientology. I loved Scientology. No,
dude, those people are so fucking nuts. It's beautiful.
It is,
right?
Dude.
It is just beautiful.
Like I actually, you know that I did research on it because I was super curious when that started popping up. I was like, what is this about? I am very curious, especially because like they had all these celebrities and shit. And then I was like, so wait a minute. You're trying to tell me that these celebrities believe that there were aliens on this planet that died and now our souls are basically their rageful sentiments and we have to delete them to achieve the ultimate theta state? I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
But that should be proof that society is struggling without religion.
Oh, yeah.
Society can't do without religion. Because if you can fucking believe Scientology, we are fucked, right? As a society. Because, yes, I'm with you. A lot of religions most religions sound quite fucking nuts. But if you compare Scientology to almost all religions, holy fuck.
Scientology.
Yeah. When you look at fucking Scientology, there's a whole lot of religions that I would rather believe in.
Yeah.
But human beings require this, and we've removed it without giving human beings anything else to believe in, which I think is our biggest issue right now.
No, it's like, listen, our church right now is the church of money. That's we believe in the almighty dollar. That's it. Yeah, that's what everyone believes in.
It fucks it up so much. Like the whole preach issue for me is just such a weird moment. Like, I've really spent the last week not being able to figure out what the fuck is actually going on. Like, now you have people just, or at least before Blizzard confirmed that he will be having alpha, you had people sort of celebrating the fact that Preach didn't get alpha.
Didn't get alpha, yeah.
Yeah, and now that he does have alpha, you have people fucking molding over the fact that he doesn't have alpha. And this is what I like to call positive toxicity. These are the positive Andes, the WoW Andes, that are so positive about WoW that they are toxic beyond belief. The same is true for Final Fantasy, though.
Oh, yeah.
Sadly, the same is true for Final Fantasy. It's the same is true for almost every game at this point. People have lost touch with reality. It is just as simple as that.
It's.
And I do apologize.
It's like a fucking weird thing.
There's like noise outside. The guy's doing the garden.
Don't worry about it. But so anyway, so Preach had this interview with Blizzard, right? And one of the things that came out of that interview, which is a video that I made, was that Preach specifically stated that on paper, he believes that there is a fundamental change in velocity.
Yeah.
It's philosophy, but at speed, right? It's velocity and velocity.
There is velocity. There's much more content coming to the alpha.
No, but it's a change in philosophy when it comes to the way that Blizzard is going to handle this IP. Now, the thing about that is, like, if Preach says something like that, because I believe that throughout Preach's body of work, he has proven himself to be a trustworthy individual. So, and I also believe that he's probably a good judge of character from what I can tell, again, just from watching his videos and stuff like that. So the fact that he analyzed that situation like that, and he comes out of it and he says, he believes that on paper there appears to be a fundamental change in Blizzard philosophy. To me, that is better news than any of the positivity that is coming out of the Dragonflight alpha of people like, oh, dragon riding's amazing. It's like, okay, that's cool. Dragon riding's amazing. Oh, the new class is awesome. That's cool. Oh, there's not going to be borrowed power stuff. That's cool. But a fundamental change in philosophy is what is the most important, because if you think back to Shadowlands, when we first started playing Shadowlands, it also felt pretty good. You started playing it, and I had my complaints about the quest lines that I felt like, there were problems there. But in terms of just playing the game, because initially they hadn't placed in all of the progression systems on the first couple of weeks. So you're playing through the first couple of weeks. And I even remember thinking like, oh man, this is going to be super easy for me to just like, I can level up my main on the side. Because I was playing Paladin for Shadowlands because Protection Warriors, once again, not viable. Go figure. Such a surprising thing that at the start of an expansion, Protection Warriors sucks ass. Who'd have thunk it? But so I was thinking like, oh, I'm actually going to be able to like keep up with my warrior because there's all these systems in place. And there's not that much that you have to do. And then the weeks pass around and they're like, yeah, but now there's this thing and now there's that thing, and I was like, oh wow, I'm barely being able to keep up with all of my chores. So it's like, to me, it's more important that not only the game launches good, but stays good. And for that, you do need a change of philosophy in how they handle their IP. So the biggest concern still is essentially their handling of the Diablo Immortal IP, which is completely and utterly disgusting. And is that something that will come back to bite us in the ass? That's the part that I don't know.
So far, it seems like Blizzard is still, at least semi-honestly, looking at Diablo Immortal as a mobile game. So they think they can get away with the atrocious monetization because they are hiding behind this is a mobile game, right? And I don't necessarily think that it's a lie. I don't necessarily think that they are lying. I think right now they genuinely believe this is a mobile game and this is how mobile games are monetized. Even though Diablo Immortal is literally every bad idea that exists across mobile games, because there is no other game in the mobile genre that has monetization to the level of Diablo Immortal. It is the most monetized game in the entirety of video games, or mobile games at least. And they believe that this is the reason they can keep doing it, because it's fine. Now, I'm not necessarily against that. I think that's all right, at least for the most part. Keep it to mobile. We will have a problem in the very near future as soon as companies figure out that, hey, we could probably get away with this in PC too. That's when our real problems will start. For now, though, not the end of the world. We're probably okay for a while. So I'm not too worried about specifically the monetization of Diablo Immortal. I'm more looking at World of Warcraft and thinking to myself, I agree with Preach. I see the change in philosophy from how they approach the alpha and also the things that's added to the alpha. The way that Ian is speaking about future things that they might be adding to the alpha. All of this suggests a level of change. They're very careful to constantly tell us, yes, you'll be able to do these things, but they won't give you any power. Right? So Blizzard have clearly learned that lesson. Because you just said something, I can't keep up with my chores. Chores in video games are fun. And they can be a lot of fun. But they can't be mandatory. Because that's when chores become the problem. If you have 40 chores that you can do in a game, but you only need to do none of them, right? So you could do 40 chores or you could do no chores. It really is up to you. Yeah. Then that's perfect, because that is then a buffet of choose your own adventure. I want this mount, and in order to get this mount, it is going to take 10 weeks of farming. Right, I'll start farming. I want this weapon. Let's go to Final Fantasy. I want the relic weapon. This is going to be months and months of farming. I want to do that, so I'll do it. I don't have to.
It's not gonna be months, even in the worst case scenario. It ain't gonna be months,
but
I
even
get
if
the
it
idea.
was months, the idea remains: I can do this. I don't have to, but I can.
Yeah, it's
and
optional.
that's when it's fun, right? That's when, because chores are mindless, and it gives you an opportunity to watch some YouTube while you're just mindlessly grinding away at some shit.
You can watch
that.
You can watch the Frozen Sodium Throne podcast or listen to it on the background.
Exactly. Fucking exactly, you know? I think that's one of the things that sets MMOs aside from other games is the fact that MMOs are basically just a list of chores, and it allows you to play it. No other game does that. So you can't really play Witcher 3 as second monitor content. Right? You can't watch a video while you're playing Witcher 3. There's story, there's dialogue, there's a lot of shit that goes on. So you can't really play the game absently. But you can do with WoW. You can do with Final Fantasy. Because
to an extent, Final Fantasy is harder. Final Fantasy, it's harder to do because whenever you're doing quests like for instance, even a beast tribe, you do get to a point where it's like, oh, now the beast tribe is leveled up, so I have to do this story quest if I want to keep going. You know, there are moments where there's always moments where it does interrupt you a little bit, and you're like, okay, I need to actually focus on what's happening on screen. But yeah,
I think the philosophy in WoW is good now. We'll see if they can stick with it, because that is ultimately what you need. World of Warcraft desperately required, like you said, a philosophical change. And the fact that they have that now, there's good things on the horizon for the future content of World of Warcraft if they stick to this. Right? They have to stick to this.
So now I'm going to bring forth a problem that I consider to be that is still not being addressed, and that is not going to be addressed for Dragonflight, because Ian has specifically said that I'm pretty happy with the way this system works. And that problem is the Great Vault. Okay, the Great Vault fucking sucks. The Great Vault is a piece of shit. What do you think about that?
I hate the Vault.
Yes.
Because I think the purpose that it serves can be served much better by other things that is far more deterministic. But I can also understand why Blizzard wants to keep the Vault. In Blizzard's mind, the problem right now is loot, and how loot is distributed, and how hard it can sometimes be to get the right piece of loot. The Vault is meant to be a chance of getting the piece of loot that you want, but also it's supposed to be a reward for people that want to play a lot, right? So people that want to do 50 Mythic Plus every single week, they get rewarded with a nice vault that is just jam-packed with goodies. I don't particularly like that because at the end of the day, like I said, there's better ways of doing this. So one of them would be a vendor. You get X amount of points every single time you do a Mythic Plus, and after X amount of points, you can buy any item from the Mythic Plus off of this vendor.
I believe that they're doing
a
hybrid system of that now. You can get some kind of currency to upgrade your items or something like that. I believe that is a system that is currently in the Great Vault. But
I'm not entirely sure how that's going to work. But my
point with the Great Vault is that, and this is as someone who loves doing Mythic Plus starts to get really annoying when you do, like, let's say 10 to 20 runs, which I would do multiple times even, sometimes even more than that. But like you do 10 to 20 runs a week and maybe you'll get like one drop of loot for yourself.
Yeah.
I think that is absolutely fucking ridiculous. There's 5 people in the group and there's 1 piece of loot that drops, 2 pieces of loot that drop if you time the key. And that is like, no. It's just no. You're talking about a 20 to 30 minute time investment for potentially 2 pieces of loot. And the argument that people always bring up is like, well, you'd gear up too fast. Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck how fast somebody gears up? Like, look at top tier mythic guilds. Does it look like the current systems are stopping them from gearing up fast? No. They don't gear up as efficiently, but they definitely do it faster than you and me. That's for damn sure. So who exactly is the system meant to punish? The average player? Well, we can't have the average player that has maybe like 2 to 3 hours to play a day. We can't have them gear up too fast. Why? Well, then they'd stop playing the game. Motherfucker, I've been Biss in Final Fantasy XIV for over a month now. I still haven't stopped playing the game.
Yeah.
This notion that people will stop playing the game if they get their loot is complete. It's almost like saying, oh man, I just bought a car. I can't wait to never drive anymore. It's literally the same fucking argument. Oh, you've collected all of your loot. You're probably never going to play the game again. It's like, the fuck do you mean? Now that I have my loot, I can focus on other things. The problem is World of Warcraft's been so focused on the fucking loot grind that they don't have other things.
You see, but this is where we talk about philosophy, but we talk about player philosophy. So I was one of the few Mythic Plus or Mythic Raiders. I never liked Mythic Plus.
I love Mythic Plus, dude. It's so good.
I fucking love that. No, I get really bored of Mythic Plus really fast. But as a Mythic Raider, because I loved raiding, I was one of those people that would basically roll an alt on every single class just so that I could raid. Mythic raiding.
That didn't work out for you in Shadowlands.
No. Shadowlands is actually, BFA and Shadowlands is the first 2 expansions where I didn't level every single one of my alts to max level and raided on them. So here's the thing that I think the problem is a community one, but also a Blizzard one. So the player mindset for me as a player of Mythic Raids was never about gear. As long as I had enough gear to do damage so that the boss would die, I was happy. In fact, I used to hate getting new pieces of loot because now I have to go back and figure out what the best selection is of all the gear that I have, what pieces of gear is going to be better, how do I re-enchant all my gear to get to the right breakpoints and shit like that. So I fucking loathed getting new gear. I would oftentimes just pass, like just straight up pass on gear because I didn't need it. I was still at the top of the DPS meters. I was still doing everything that I wanted to do, so I was happy. I never cared about the purple loot. I cared about the boss. I wanted to kill the boss. I liked the puzzle. I liked solving the puzzle of the boss. Most players in World of Warcraft no longer play the game that way. For them, and this is why I say it's partly Blizzard's fault, but it's also the players' fault. Blizzard created this game, and now the players have accepted it as this is the way you play. So this is where we get to a conversation that is more sort of focused on psychology. So in psychological terms, you have two types of people in the world. You have extrinsic motivation, and then you have intrinsic motivation. And people usually have a mix of these two. Intrinsic motivations are motivations that come from oneself. So the reward is not going to convince you to do something. What you want is some kind of learning curve. So what they found with people here, and they tested this in children, they would tell children, listen here, we're going to give you, like, groups of children. So one group of children, they would give a snack as soon as they're done drawing something. Another group would only get a snack if what they drew were actually good. And then a third group would not get a snack at all. They were just told to draw. And what they found is that people with intrinsic motivations do not draw for the reward. They draw because they want to get better at drawing. So they want to get it right. The reward is the activity. People with extrinsic motivations, as soon as you remove the reward, there's no point in doing the thing. So they are only doing the thing so that they can get the reward at the end of the road. Now, Blizzard designed their game basically to be extrinsic in nature. Why? Because it's the easiest way of doing it. It's very easy to design content that way, because you can take borderline mindless content and turn it into great content simply by giving great rewards. This means that no one really likes the content. They really like the rewards that they're getting. So when you say, I can't get a piece of loot after 20 fucking Mythic Plus, that suggests to me that there's a problem within Mythic Plus. The content itself is not rewarding enough to keep people playing. So they need the loot in order to make it worth their while. This means that Blizzard needs to fix Mythic Plus.
There's a
different
thing there. See, the reason why I would complain about loot in Mythic Plus is because Mythic Plus, as you climb up on keys, it gets progressively harder.
True.
And without the loot, I can't keep pushing higher and higher keys because I can't pull as aggressively as a tank. I can't, my cooldowns are not going to be up if you have cooldown reduction, shit like that. Like, depending on the gear that you have, you're going to be able to do more and more. That's my main thing when it came to Mythic Plus. That's why you constantly need a steady drip of loot to constantly be improving. Because look, you're talking to the guy who I was raiding Black Temple in tier 4 because people used my guild as a stepping stone. And not only in tier 4, it got to a point because at some point they nerfed Warrior's Rage generation. So I wasn't being able to keep aggro, and I was like, well, healers, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to take off my pants. And they're like, what? I'm taking off my pants. And and my health bar would go like, voot, voot, voot. And I was like, yeah, but look at all the rage I have. This is great. I'm no longer losing aggro anymore. We solved that problem. But yeah, I was in like tier 4 at Black Temple because we kept giving tier to the wrong people, and people would leave and go for better guilds afterwards, which fucking sucked. Yeah. But yeah, ultimately, I don't care that much about loot.
No. But I think it's not just so. I didn't keep in mind that level of Mythic Plus also exists. So that is definitely another layer of the gear discussion. But I feel like the concept still exists for almost everything in World of Warcraft. People have started playing the game
I
for
agree.
rewards rather than for the content.
Because if you think about the prevailing nature of boosting and the amount of people that engage in boosting, it's exactly what you're talking about. They're like, oh, I want mythic gear. And it's like, why? Well, because I want it, because it's got high item level, it'll make me deal more damage. And it's like, yeah, why do you need to be dealing damage at the mythic level? Are you raiding mythic? No.
Yeah.
I'll do it that one time to get the gear, but then I'm never going to go back there again. That's another thing that people will say. It's like, oh my God, thank God I got this. I'm never doing this again. Right? Yeah. That's what people say. They're like, oh, I'm never doing this again. I got my piece of loot. I'm done. I am done. Never doing this again. And it's like, well, what was the point of doing it in the first place? It was to get the loot. It's like, what are you going to do with the loot? You're going to raid mythic? Well, no. What are you going to do? I'm going to flex it in Ouroboros. Well, great. I think that was a really good use of your fucking time.
But that's the issue. And that's something that Blizzard won't be able to fix overnight. The new approach for Dragonflight does, I think, pose an interesting experiment, because in time, it may actually solve this problem. when you start giving people more optional content that is just meant to be fun, you may actually see players more and more diving into, quote unquote, more fun content. Right?
Yeah.
And hopefully that does happen. I really hope that it will happen, because
to me,
we need
the way that I think about it is like, because we started this by talking about the Great Vault. To me, the big thing about this whole thing is that the Great Vault, at the end of the day, you can call it whatever you want to. The Great Vault is a free-to-play mechanic. Let's just be completely real. It's a weekly activity, not an activity, but it's a weekly reward that you get for playing the game. It's literally a login bonus. It's a login bonus for the activities that you've done. You've done these activities. Here's your login bonus at the end of the week. And I think that the reward should come from the activities themselves. I feel like Mythic Plus needs to be dropping more loot. And I feel like if people are scared, but people are going to do Mythic Plus and then they're going to be done. Good. Then let the people that want to keep doing Mythic Plus and pushing the high keys, let them push it. Stop fucking putting arbitrary barriers in front of them so that they have to keep jumping through hoops. It's not like, you want to do Mythic Plus? I hope you want to raid as well, because your best gear is going to be in raids. And it's like, no, that doesn't make any sense. What if I want to do Mythic Plus and not raid? Or what if I want to raid and not Mythic Plus? These two things should be optionally linked and not, completely interlinked. Just like, you do your dungeons, and then after you do your dungeons, you go, do world bosses, world quests, all of these things, and then raiding, and it's all interconnected, and it doesn't need to be. It needs to be different. It needs to be optional. It's like, if there's so many people that do Mythic Plus that don't want to do Mythic Plus. And that's how you end up with people in Mythic Plus groups that actually are not very good at doing Mythic Plus because they don't like it. They don't want to be there. They have to be there in order to and this is another thing that the Great Vault is sabotaging itself for. It's like, run 15 Mythic Plus. What about the people that don't want to run Mythic Plus? They have to, because their loot's going to be coming from the vault. They have to go run those Mythic Plus. And that's stupid.
I agree with you. I don't think there is a good solution.
Yes, there is. Make Mythic Plus drop more loot. Make raids drop more loot. Make literally everything in the game drop more loot. And not receive it from a chest at the end of the week.
See, the issue there is the mindset that, and this again goes back to philosophy. Blizzard really wants loot to matter again. Because for a long time, one of the biggest concerns that I and many other players had was that loot in World of Warcraft was starting to feel like Diablo. It felt like you were just constantly playing loot pinata. Things would just drop loot left, right, and fucking center. So you just didn't feel any sort of happiness when you got a piece of loot. It was almost expected. So Blizzard really wants to go back to the old days of World of Warcraft where, if you got that piece of loot that you were really looking forward to, you were happy. You were genuinely fucking happy because, oh my God, I finally got this piece of loot that I was so looking forward to.
There's a fundamental thing that they need to do if they want to go back to that, and that is, new raid tier comes out, it can't be higher item level than the previous raid tier, because otherwise loot still doesn't matter. It's still a goddamn loot pinata, and it's the chase of the higher item level all the way. It's like, if they want to do that where your loot matters, then when a new raid drops, it can give you different bonuses, it can allow you for different playstyles, but it cannot outright be more powerful.
You see, I feel like there is a golden midway to achieve both. I don't mind the fact that there is less loot that drops. I don't even mind the fact that the loot increases your item level. Because again, this is like a core part of RPGs. It would feel really weird if it didn't, unless Blizzard adopted a more horizontal progression system, which can be very difficult to do. Guild Wars, I feel, do it relatively well, because they have a horizontal progression system. But I do think there is a golden midway, and that sort of the golden midway is to first ensure that content is good. Make sure that all power that you attain can only be attained from the activity that you want to do. So this is where I agree with you. Mythic Plus should not drop raid gear, and raid should not drop Mythic Plus gear. And by that I mean gear that you would need in Mythic Plus or raiding. I know that Blizzard loves to think of their game as this is PvP and this is PvE. All things that's PvE can be done and should be considered as a singular focus, and all things that's PvP can be done and should be considered as a singular focus. But that's not how players are playing the game. PvP players will range from people who just do battlegrounds to people who just do arenas to people who just do raided battlegrounds to people who do a little bit of everything. Then you'll have PvE players who will just do dungeons. Some will just do Mythic. Some will just do Mythic Plus. Others will just do raids. And then you will have people that do everything. And now we're talking about people that prefer it, not people that do it because they have to.
Yeah,
just people that prefer doing X over others. Blizzard still wants to design their game as a sort of, if you're a PvPer or a PvEer, that means you want to do Mythic Plus and you also must do raiding.
Yeah.
Because you're a PvEer. It's like, no, Blizzard, that is clearly no longer the case. You have people that is technically, for lack of a better word, professional Mythic Plus players. This is what they do. They spend the whole day looking forward to their Mythic Plus tonight. So give them Mythic Plus as the only content that they ever need to do in order to push as high keys as humanly possible. Then the other thing that I feel Blizzard should do is make Mythic Plus more interesting. A lot of the seasonal affixes, Blizzard have already spoken about that. They are taking a new approach to seasonal affixes. Insofar as seasonal affixes are not going to be as punishing as they were in BFA and Shadowlands, because now with the new dungeon system where 4 dungeons are from the current expansion and 4 is from previous expansions, it's enough of a change to the Mythic Plus that they don't have to go overboard with the seasonal affix anymore, because the seasonal affix was meant to make all of the dungeons feel fresh, where oftentimes the seasonal affix would basically make some dungeons feel completely miserable.
Yes.
Depending on the other affixes that you got, right?
Yes.
And this is where that over-reliance on gear again comes in. Because if you have Tyrannical and say one of the seasonal affixes makes Tyrannical just almost impossible to deal with, well, now you need almost 20 more item levels just to deal with the dungeons at plus 15.
You don't like spending 30 minutes on a boss? What do you mean? It's great.
I'm going to be honest with you, I find that most of the affixes are really fucking borderline boring.
I don't remember what the name of the one is, the one that drops blood splatters on the ground. One's
Sanguine.
Sanguine's great, dude. I love Sanguine. Especially when I remember this run that I had to do, which was it was in BFA. I don't know what the name of it was. It was that little haunted house looking thing that would change there was a manor that would change like paths and stuff. And in those tight core, there's Sanguine, dude. Let me tell you, it was amazing. I love that.
Yep.
It's like, let me paint this whole place in blood. This is great.
So my issue with the affix system is, first and foremost, if you're going to have a system that punishes people, that same system should also reward people in equal measure. So a bit of a buff, a bit of a curse.
They did that during one of Shadowlands seasonal affixes did that, which was at a certain percentage points, like a red thing would spawn, and then that was annoying because if you were still in the middle of killing a pack, you'd have to deal with the pack and that thing. But if you planned it out right, you'd kill the pack, that thing would spawn, you'd kill that thing, and it would give you like a 10% damage bonus or something like that.
Yes.
So that was good.
I like that, but I think it should be baked into all of the affixes. So if you get Tyrannical, for example, you also have an opportunity to, if you do things correctly, you can actually get it to where you do increased damage to the boss. So you can, through
manipulate
clever play, basically nullify the Tyrannical buff, right? But that is how affixes should be approached. So something just off the top of my head, I've not spent a lot of time thinking about this because I don't really care, but just thinking about it right now. Let's say that during Tyrannical, mobs are given different colors, right? So mobs will literally have these little globes on the top of their head. And if you kill a certain color, say, combination.
Careful which color you say. Be very careful.
But let's say you kill blue, red, and yellow in a specific combination.
So wait, police officers, Asian people, and Indians? Is that what you racist bastard?
Right? But let's say you kill blue, red, and yellow in a specific combination. So if you do first blue, then green, then red, then yellow, it increases your damage by 10%. But if you do yellow, green, or blue and red, it will actually increase healing. And that buff lasts for, say, 2 minutes. So you can do a very clever pull just before the boss spawns, or just before you reach the boss, where you get everyone their buffs just before you get to the boss. Something like that, right? So now you are actually approaching the dungeon very differently. Whereas the way it works with World of Warcraft, for most of the affixes, it's Tyrannical, the bosses have a shit ton more health. And then you have Sanguine, which spawns shit on the ground. Neither of those means anything. Like, there's no way of dealing with the shit on the ground, right? Whereas you could very easily have it so these different color combinations will let you levitate. So if you do kill in the right order, you'll actually levitate, which means Sanguine is now completely nullified. But to keep that buff, you have to continuously pull the right mobs, and you also have to think about your pathing. Because if you just path the normal way, you might not get any yellow mobs on your way to this boss, which
and that
means
would be more interesting than the current routes that we are doing, where usually you have this one route that you do and boom, boom, boom.
Yes. It's going to change the route. It's going to change the pathing options. It's going to let you leave certain packs up until later because, I'm going to keep this blue pack because that boss is a bitch on Tyrannical and Sanguine. Yeah. So I need the blue pack in order to get the right combination, in order to get all the buffs. That immediately changes things up, and it makes it it rewards you. It's more difficult, but that is also rewarding in and of itself. I feel like Blizzard have not put enough time and effort into their affix system. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like the affix system was sort of thought up as just here's a bunch of downsides to the raids, and that's going to make the raids more interesting or the dungeons more interesting. What is interesting about Tyrannical? How is this an interesting mechanic? It makes the bosses just harder to kill. Okay. Yeah. What's interesting about this?
That's pretty much it, yeah.
It's not interesting, no. And then you have the one that sort of, I can't remember what this is called, but there's like a circle that spawns around you and it fills up, and if you're casting while the circle is full charge, it interrupts you.
It was... earthquake something, I forget.
Yeah.
Quaking. I think it was quaking.
Quaking, yeah. And the problem with that is, I know what Blizzard wants it to be. They want you to constantly look at your feet and be cognizant of the fact that you can't just cast the whole time. It ends up just being fucking annoying because, you can't cast the whole time, and it's also not a problem for melee whatsoever. Melee doesn't even give a fuck about that.
Well, I think we had the position because that thing also deals AoE damage. It doesn't just interrupt. So, it interrupts and deals AoE damage. So if you're not careful, we'll kill each other.
So you just kind of have to not be on top of one another. But I mean, that's not stupidly difficult to do.
No.
It just turns into there's nothing I can do from my side to nullify this effect. Okay, I can't make this effect go away or play around this effect. I just have to deal with this effect. That's not fun. What makes this fun? Why is this fun?
The thing is that some of it is just a challenge of dealing with it on a harder difficulty. Like, that's just it. Part of it is just the challenge of dealing with it. But there are things, like, for instance, I don't think that quaking is that bad, but I think that Sanguine, for instance, in certain dungeons was a serious problem. Because there's just, for starters, there's just different tanks that can deal with things very differently. So if I was playing my monk, it gave me a ridiculous advantage over pretty much any other tank because I can just use the circle of bullshit and push monsters into a corner right before they die. And then it'll just be like that little corner will have blood. Whereas if I'm playing a warrior, well, fuck you, I guess. That's what you get.
But the issue for me is, even if quaking isn't that bad, because there are actually affixes that basically don't really do anything. If you play around them, they really don't bother you whatsoever. But the thing is, wouldn't quaking be better if there was a way to deal with quaking so that it actually becomes beneficial, but it also requires you to play differently? So if you change your play style, you can actually turn quaking into a buff.
You just have to remember that there are players who are doing Mythic Plus purely for the challenge. And if you give them all these buffs, then they'll master the buffs and it's just like, well, now it's even easier than normal.
Yeah, but this is where achievements come in. This is where you give achievements based on did I or did I not. In other words, if you did do the whole dungeon with all of these, so you don't always have to make it easier.
You're talking about organic difficulty then. You're talking essentially in terms of Old War raid design, which was the peak Blizzard raid design pretty much, because ever since it went to this heroic and mythic, it's just a bunch of bullshit, let's be real.
Yeah. I am talking about you get to decide how hard you want to make this dungeon for yourself.
And then you get achievements for it, yeah.
I mean, you could do it to where, yes, the buffs will be beneficial, but playing that way will also be a hell of a lot harder. There's going to be a lot more micromanagement. There's going to be a lot more. So some bosses you may actually have to pull trash with the boss, keeping it CC'd until you need to nuke it down so that you can get the buff, so that you can get past whatever phase you're in, right?
I think that
immediately makes it even harder.
That's already too much of an investment for Blizzard to do.
You see, the thing is, I don't think, when I think about game design, I never think from the side of, is this, how hard will this be?
Yeah,
because from my perspective, your only job is to make a really good game, and nothing should stand in the way of that. If it's too hard to fucking develop, then get fucking developing now. You know, then don't try and do it in 2 years. Do it before or whatever.
You do make a point, which is Blizzard has not been kind of like reinvesting into World of Warcraft for the longest time, and only now they're like, hey, we're losing a lot of people in our player base. We need to do something. We better hire some more people. We better actually start trying to salvage this product because, good God.
Okay, so Mythic Plus have been around now for 3 expansions, right? Legion, BFA, and Shadowlands.
I believe so, yeah.
The affixes have been around for 2.5. I don't think affixes was something at the beginning of Legion. I think it came towards the end or middle of Legion. Maybe I could be wrong about that as well. Because, like I said, I don't really do Mythic Plus. That said, though, since then, they have barely fucking changed. Like, it is just that mindset from Blizzard. And this truly, I think, is the biggest thing. Blizzard went into coaxing mode. Now, as a content creator, you'll know exactly what I mean when I say coaxing mode, because it's such an easy trap to fall into. I'll give you guys an example. Right now, on my Clips channel, I'm doing a lot of Warhammer 40k reactions. And those reactions are doing fucking phenomenally well. Every single video is doing better than the last. We're upwards of like 100,000+ views on the first video that I ever uploaded. The other one is over 70 almost. So those videos are doing very well. The easiest thing here is to just do Warhammer reactions. From now on, I just upload Warhammer reactions.
There you go.
I basically
Warhammer
go into coaching mode, right? Yeah. The problem is I'm going to run out of content to react to at some point. And now I've effectively built a Warhammer audience. That's what I have now. I have an audience that wants Warhammer. The Clips channel was designed to be everything from the stream. But now it can't be everything from the stream anymore because I've made it into a Warhammer channel. So I have to constantly be cognizant of the fact that I have to keep up with all other types of content to keep the channel relevant. And yes, those videos don't do nearly as well. They'll get 3,000-4,000 views per video. But that's the point. They're still getting views. They're still bringing in new subscribers. And I can't coax. The problem with Blizzard is they thought that they had cracked the code on easy development. All we need to do is a borrow power system for the expansion, sort of cookie cutter dungeons that we have affixes for that turns into Mythic Plus, raids, and then we're done. That's it. The borrow power system keeps people playing, keep them on the treadmill.
We make a new borrow power every expansion, boom, done.
Yeah, easy life, right? This is the easiest shit we've ever done. They sort of slept on class design. They made class design just horribly boring. And if you don't believe me, there's actually a video about Chris Kalaki. I don't know if you guys know who he is. Chris Kalaki left Blizzard. It was quite public at the time because he was one of the only long-standing developers.
Class guys, right? Wasn't he like one of the guys that
he was one of the class designers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, didn't Asmongold react to one of his videos, I think he did.
He was actually on the OTK Gaming Expo because he started a new company and they're actually now partnering with OTK.
Oh.
Yeah, so his gaming company is doing some really cool stuff in the gaming industry. But he was, the reason it was such big news for so many people was the fact that he was one of the only ones to actually make noise. Right, to actually make a video explaining why he left. And one of the reasons he decided to no longer stay with Blizzard Entertainment after he left, or, after everything, was boredom. He said that class design had become basically just nothing. There was nothing to do. There was no real effort being put into it. And as someone who worked on classes for almost 15 years, he remembers when class design was actually good. And so he decided to leave and start his own thing. I don't know what his game is going to be about. It is an RPG, but it is a class-based RPG. So your class is going to be incredibly
remember
important.
what game. I remember what game this was. I saw some of the art that they had brought forth, and it looked pretty cool.
Yeah. So they're going to have multiple different classes, and really, it's sort of like a Souls game, but very much built around your classes and how your classes interact with the game and shit like that. So they're trying something relatively new, but based on a proven concept.
It's
so
like
he left because of this.
When it comes to the class design of Blizzard, and I'm pretty sure that pretty much any player can probably point out at a couple of spells in their class and just be like, okay, you just look at this. What the fuck am I supposed to do with this spell? This spell it's either like the most boring thing ever, or it's worthless, right? That's usually the way that it goes. And in my case, I seem to remember very heavily because I took a big break from WoW, and I think that the one that I came back in on must have been Warlords, I think. And in Warlords, my class was given a new button. Ignore pain. And I was like, I fucking hate this button. This button fucking sucks, dude. This is the worst thing ever. It's a button that you press and is like, here's a shield for percentage of your health, and that's it. I'm just like, wow, this is great warrior fantasy. I press this button and I get like a fucking priest bubble. This is great, dude. Thanks. Great fucking class design. Really appeals to the warrior fantasy. I press a button and there's a shield comes up. Yay!
The more you press it, the bigger the shield gets. Eventually, you can like soak massive hits and shit just with your shield bubble. I remember that. I remember the ignore pain.
It's so bad.
I think so. This is something that Blizzard again is rectifying with Dragonflight, right? Because they did. I like to call it the blank slate class theory. The reason it's not, I didn't come up with the name. The blank slate theory, for people who don't know, is actually a psychological theory. It suggests that children are blank slates, and whatever we put in them is what they will become. Now, that theory have been proven incorrect multiple times. Children, as it turns out, are not blank slates. Nope. And a lot of it actually has to do with your genes. It's sort of the nature versus nurture argument that people have, where this specific psychological theory suggests that nature has nothing to do with it. So your parents' genes and stuff do not determine who you are. It's all down to how you're raised. We know that's not true. There's definitely some genetic thing. but I call it the blank slate class theory because that's what Blizzard wanted to do. They basically wanted to create this template for every class, right? That is very bland, very boring, very sort of, nothing jumps out at you. But then it's made interesting through the borrowed power system. So whenever borrowed power system is active, now the class becomes really, really interesting. And it's clear when Blizzard designed this as well, because the only time classes were really fucking interesting was in Legion, because the classes were designed in unison with the artifact weapon. The artifact weapon was designed to make the classes interesting because the classes themselves weren't. Then came BFA. The problem for BFA was that their artifact system was boring, right? So now you have a boring artifact system, artifact Azerite system.
Yeah.
You guys get system. What I mean. Now you have a boring artifact system coupled with boring class design. So it's all just boring. And then came Shadowlands, and the conduits were more interesting. And the Covenant abilities made things a little bit more interesting, but you still had this incredibly boring class design. So you need this very illustrious borrowed power system if you're going to make the classes good. And Shadowlands did have that. But I think it again shows that Blizzard sort of realized that this is not workable. We have to go back to actual class design to where the class is interesting. Regardless of whatever happens outside, the class is already really fun to play. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Blizzard is going to pull out, if I'm honest. And I realize that might be a little sexual, but
hey. Blizzard is going to be like, hey, let me just...
There you go. Hey, if Blizzard can pull out a 9-inch monster, I'll be fucking happy, bro. I'll be gobbling that cock down all day long. I'm not gonna lie to you. It really just depends, because Shadowlands was really micro penis levels, So I'm really hoping that Dragonflight isn't that.
Oh my god. Guys, the laughter is a coping mechanism, okay? Dragonfly is gonna be great, I promise.
Right. I genuinely believe that Dragonflight is gonna be great.
I don't believe anything, to be honest. I'm like, look, I've had expectations before. No, not this time. You're not gonna get me to get hyped by literally anything. There's nothing they can do.
I base my belief on the philosophical aspects, right? So I look at what they're doing and I say, right, philosophically, what does this lead to? Because I didn't like their philosophy in Shadowlands. I didn't like their philosophy in BFA. And both of those expansions proved horrible because of its philosophy. I like the philosophy for Dragonflight because it's already tried and tested. How do we know this? Because TBC was good. Wrath was good. Cataclysm was okay. I loved Cataclysm, but a lot of people didn't. I really enjoyed it. Mists of Pandaria was good. And the philosophy is the same now as it was back then. So it would take a monstrous fuck up from Blizzard to screw up Dragonflight. Like, they would really have to try.
Is that a challenge?
I hope fucking not, but it could be, it could be.
It's like, I actually lied. There's one thing that they could do that they never will that would get me really hyped. But they'll never do this. Get rid of the WoW token. Never gonna happen.
Yeah, now you are fucking coping.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
if they were to get rid of the WoW token, that would get me more hyped for the game than ever. But they're never gonna do that, so it's a moot point.
Yeah, that's never happening.
Anyway, let's switch topics a little bit. We have a couple of more topics that we want to talk about. One of them is Diablo 4. So apparently, I don't know when this news came out, because it might have been before the last podcast, but apparently if you really wanted to, in certain tattoo establishments, you would be able to get guaranteed access to the Diablo 4 beta if you were to tattoo yourself with a Diablo 4 themed tattoo.
Yes. Oh, fuck me.
So
fuck me.
So it's like the proposition here is you become a human billboard for our video game.
Yeah.
Even though people can say, well, it's just a tribal tattoo. Yeah, sure thing.
I mean, but you are advertising the game, effectively.
You become a human billboard for our video game, and we'll give you not even the game, beta access to the game so that you could come test the game.
I'm going to be honest with you. The reason I don't like this is I don't know how moral it is. You are effectively incentivizing people to scar their bodies.
Yes.
Now, I don't have a problem with tattoos. If you want to have a tattoo, fucking go for it. But I don't think it would be the equivalent. So let me ask you this. Imagine if Sussel or any one of the big oil companies came out and said, hey, if you tattoo our logo on your forehead, we will give you half-price fuel for the rest of your life. How many of you would
not even fuel, half-price fuel?
Yeah, we'll give you half-price fuel for the rest of your life.
I'm actually wondering about the legality of it all. Is it legal?
Yeah, that's what I don't think it could be.
And
if it is, it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you should incentivize people to scar themselves.
Yeah.
Just so that they can get something from you. Now, I realize the way that Blizzard is framing this is if you happen to get a tattoo, then you get this really cool, beta access to our game. But that's not really how this works, because the reverse of it is true too. Some people might go out and get their first ever tattoo of a Diablo symbol just so that they can get beta access.
Because I don't know if I'm okay with that. Let's be completely honest. Like, Blizzard has a lot of impressionable fans. Like, this is, I don't think anybody can like debate that. That's just a fact of life. I mean, you have people that already have done like Alliance and Horde tattoos on their bodies. Which is their choice. They didn't do it for a reward. They did it because, like, oh, I like this symbol. I identify with this faction, whatever, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to go get a tattoo. Like, that's fine. And again, neither Accolonn or me are against tattoos. I think tattoos actually look pretty cool. I'm just, I personally don't have any because I choose not to. But, it's weird to put, like, almost a carrot in front of you and go like, hey, how'd you like to get a tattoo? And I'll give you this carrot. And that there's going to be a lot of people that will do it just for the beta access, which...
100%.
Yeah, and this is something that is like, this is a decision that later in life they're going to be like, oh, maybe getting a Diablo tattoo on my face was not the best decision because now I find it very hard to get a job. Yeah.
So I don't have a tattoo. And the reason I don't have tattoos is I wanted tattoos back in the day when tattoos was actually rebellious, when no one could have one. Nowadays, almost everyone has one. And I'm like, fuck that. I don't want to be part of the group. So I'll just not do it. Also, and this is perhaps the biggest reason, I don't see the point in having one, gonna be honest. I'm gonna go sit there for hours on end just so someone can fucking draw on me. If I want something drawn on me, I'll just buy a pen, draw it on, and wash it off when I'm fucking tired of it.
It's a different thing. I think there's definitely beauty in some tattoos. Like, you can see the way that some of the artists, they do tattoos, and there's like, oh, that was really cool. Like, maybe they do some kind of a cool effect, or I think that there are some really cool looking tattoos for sure.
Yeah, but my point is just I've never felt strong enough about anything in my life that I want to put it permanently on myself. Like, that's just never happened for me. I don't judge people who do, though. I couldn't care less. It's your body. Do whatever the fuck you want with it, as far as I'm concerned. I just don't think a company, a corporation specifically, should be incentivizing people to get tattoos. I don't know if I like the morality of that, because morally speaking, why? Why? Well, why do you want this to be a thing? I don't understand it.
It's really, really, really weird, and I feel like it crosses some kind of like line, some kind of moral line or something like that. Particularly, like I said, when you have an impressionable audience of teens that will do it to get that beta access, because they want that beta access. Which
absolutely, you are gonna get impressionable teens. You are gonna get impressionable people just in general. And yeah, like I said, I don't mind that it's happening. It's up to every human being whether they want this. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do it, and I don't like the fact that Blizzard wants to push for it. But there's another bit of news in the Diablo sphere that isn't tattoos, but that is a bit of an oopsie. So Blizzard, by oopsie, released the beta on the Battle.net launcher. Like, literally, you could see that beta for Diablo 4 was coming soon, at least, because it was on the Battle.net launcher. Since then, they've walked it back, and they've said, no, we'll do public testing, but only in 2023. Now, that's not in itself an interesting news story. What is interesting is that this is not the first mistake of its kind at Blizzard. We've had in Shadowlands multiple times that things were leaked that should not have been leaked. That clearly was massive spoiler that should not have been leaked, and someone fucked up. Someone released it before it was ready. I remember there was one cinematic that got made public on their YouTube channel like almost a week before it was meant to be made public. They immediately took it down, but by the time they took it down, everyone had already fucking seen it.
Of course.
So it was already out, right? People were already re-uploading the fucking thing. And then there was I can't remember what it was, but it was on the PTR where they made a file public that basically spoiled the raid. It literally said Sepulchre of the First Ones before people even knew that there was going to be such a thing. So this has been happening more and more often inside Blizzard, just these leaks. Now, my question is this on purpose? So is this just Blizzard building hype without actually building hype? Or is this indicative of a company that maybe don't have the leadership structures in place the way that it should be? So organization is starting to fall through the cracks. It's just, there is the third option, of course, and that is that there's someone that works at Blizzard or some people that work at Blizzard that really hate the company.
I think,
and it's just leaking the fucking shit out of everything.
I don't think it's the third option, because I feel like it would be fairly simple to figure out who pushed the updates when, right? Because even if they're using somebody else's account, then you can go get that somebody else person and figure out, okay, who used your account? Where were you logged in? Where was it? Like, I think you can kind of get to the bottom, particularly if you're pushing something that's going to end up in the client. Like, I feel like those things probably should be controlled from a software standpoint. So I don't think it's like a rogue operative. I think it's either going to be incompetence where somebody just messes up, or it's going to be intentional for publicity. And I kind of feel like, considering that this happened during the Dragonflight alpha, it's probably incompetence, because they probably don't want to be pushing two products at the same time. So it's probably going to be incompetence, I would imagine, which would take us towards maybe the leadership structure is still not there. Maybe they're still struggling with that. And, there's definitely that whole saying of like, never attribute to malice that which can be proved by stupidity, or something like that, which I think is the case here.
It sort of plays off of one of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite movies, The Big Short, where the guy goes, "Show me the difference between criminality and stupidity, and I'll have my wife's brother arrested." Which is just one of my favorite fucking quotes ever. Because, at the end of the day, if it is incompetence, then yes, it suggests, and I guess I should give a little bit of backstory here as to why I bring this up. Way back in Legion, I had a leak from a previous Blizzard employee. This wasn't a leak of content. This wasn't a leak of future content. This was a leak about stuff that was happening within the company that ultimately eventually came out in lawsuits. This person's boyfriend basically got fucked at Blizzard for being Hispanic. They
wait.
Pushed out. Yeah?
Literally
I covered
fucked?
this, so it's not...
Literally?
No.
Okay, because with the lawsuits, you have to specify nowadays.
No. Not literally fucked. More like they would not be invited to any of the meetings. The meetings was basically 2 white women and actually I think it was a white man and 2 white women. They would have like their own special little meetings that this guy would just not be at. And then he wouldn't have like any of the things that he was supposed to do. And then he would get in trouble because he didn't do his job, even though they never told him about the meeting. So he didn't even know that he had something to do. And this happened for almost 1.5 years that this kept happening. And then this woman, who was actually the one in charge of his department, was one of the people who screamed racism at Blizzard, right? Racism and sexism at Blizzard. She screamed that she had been like the recipient of sexism and crap, even though she was. So this person reached out to me and basically just gave me a little bit of a rundown on why she left Blizzard Entertainment. And I'm not going to say where she went because that would give it away.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons she left was just the chaos in that company. Nothing happens according to the schedule. Like they'll get a schedule for something that needs to happen. 2 hours later, the schedule is fucked. Like this department isn't working and that is a problem and we have to change this. So by the time the schedule actually gets implemented, no one has a clue what's going on. Everyone's just sort of working on something. Everyone's just kind of trying to figure out what to do. Like she told me stories of they'll get a brief saying that this is what we're focusing on for the next week. You need to get this done. So their department will start working on this. They then have to send this to another department. That department gets this thing, but that department is working on something completely different. So that department's like, well, what are we supposed to do with this? And they're like, well, this is the brief for the week. Like, no, this is the brief for the week. So it was just like the departments were just in complete breakdown. Like no one knew who the fuck was doing
that sounds like
at what point.
That sounds like that BioWare magic that they were talking about. You remember, everything's going to come together in the end. It's BioWare magic. This one was the Blizzard magic, though. It's a different type.
And this person actually left to go work at an indie company, and said the control at that indie company is next level compared to Blizzard. Like, they know 6 months ahead of time what they're going to be working on, like what they're working towards. And I wonder if, because that's not something you can fix game philosophy rather quickly, right? You can literally, we're seeing it happen now. Blizzard is going from one philosophy to the next one in the blink of an expansion. That's easy to fix. Leadership and structure can take years to fix. That doesn't happen overnight. That's something that you kind of have to lay down the structures slowly but surely and then hope that people start implementing the structures, right? How long before that shit gets solved?
I don't know. I still think, you know how Asmongold has said that we still need like 3 expansions before the game gets good or something like that. I think that might be where we're at. Like maybe Dragonflight is a good starting place. Maybe it's not, like I said, my expectations are going to stay at a minimum, but I still think that they have a lot of work to do to get their house in order. I still think they're not in order at all. And I still think that Diablo 4 is not going to be particularly good.
I think Diablo 4 is going to be fine. Considering how long that game has been in development, it fucking has to be, right?
I mean, look at Duke Nukem Forever. That was in development for
True. But, it's been in development for 6+ years now. So it could be good. It should be good. I hope it is. I think a lot of people are going to be very disenchanted with the Dragonflight. I think a lot of people are not going to understand what Dragonflight is all about. I think it's going to take a lot of rewiring for a lot of people.
I think that Blizzard has been cultivating an audience that is used to having a chore list.
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
Particularly the players that are still playing the game at this point, they are definitely people that are very much, yes, give me a chore list and I will do my chores, and that's what I will do in the game. Just keep giving me a chore list. And I think that if Dragonflight goes according to their plan, which is to not have such a chore list, there's going to be a ton of people that are going to be just like in the game, and they're like, well, what do I do now? It doesn't seem like I can get power any way. Like, what do you mean? I've capped out my power gains? This is impossible. I think there's definitely going to be a lot of people that are going to have no idea whatsoever how to deal with that situation, because they've never been in that situation. They're just like used to always having a treadmill that they go on, and they keep going on this treadmill nonstop. Yeah. And now the treadmill is going to have a clear endpoint, and I think that will be interesting to see what the reaction of the community is going to be.
I mean, not only that, but there's also the added benefit or the added downside that the game's going to be rather empty at launch, right? It's going to be Dragonflight, it's going to be dungeons, and it's going to be one raid and professions. That's it. That's all.
I mean, the raid's not even going to come out in the first week, I would imagine, right? It's going to take a couple of weeks.
No. It's usually 2 weeks at the launch, and then the raid goes live. But those 2 weeks are usually magical because that's when everything's so new and fresh. But that's it.
Not really that magical, considering that everything's already going to be solved by the time the game launches. So
true, very true. But still, people have that hype and that freshness and everything's sort of good. So you have that. Then there's nothing else. Not at least until the first patch, which I think, here's my prediction. The first patch is going to introduce either Mage Tower or Torghast as a new max level activity that you can enjoy in order to unlock cosmetics. So I think it's going to have one of those two. My money is on Torghast, and here's why, and I'm giving people a little bit of spoiler.
No, but wait a minute. You're talking about the actual Torghast, not a Torghast-like feature. You're talking about the actual Mage Tower and not a Mage Tower-like feature.
The actual Mage Tower, I'm almost convinced will just be the actual Mage Tower, and they'll probably add 1 or 2 more bosses to that Mage Tower, so make it a complete. But there's a better chance that Blizzard actually just re-adds the actual Torghast or move it to Karazhan. So it could either be the feature or it could be the actual Torghast. But here's why.
So Karazhan would become a Torghast.
I personally argued from the beginning that Karazhan should have been the Torghast, because Karazhan makes sense on every level to be a Torghast type place. But here's why. So for people who don't quite know, if you go to Torghast now, go look at the room that Torghast is in. There's like a bunch of entrances there that just never got used. Those were always planned to be used. So Torghast was supposed to have multiple instances of types of floors that you can do. It wasn't supposed to just have the 2. The 3 if you include the boss rush mode, right? Torghast, as a concept, had a shit ton of content. And then it fell flat. Like, it just didn't work. And Blizzard sort of tabled a lot of what they wanted to do for Torghast, even though it was already kind of done. It was already kind of ready. Blizzard tabled all of the stuff that they wanted to do for Torghast and instead just sort of moved over to Dragonflight. So Torghast is very much almost ready to be relaunched as a proper deep dungeon experience. And I think that's what's going to happen in the first patch. Blizzard is going to add some kind of deep dungeon system. either a Torghast or a Torghast-like feature, or Mage Tower or Mage Tower-like feature. That's what's going to be in the first patch for Dragonflight. So I think people are going to have to get used to the new patches, introduce new long-form content. So this is content that's going to be with you for a long time. If you think about deep dungeons in Final Fantasy, I don't know, there's probably people who can do it really quickly, but it is my understanding that not Heavens on High, what's the other one again? Palace of the Dead.
Palace
of
the
the Dead can't really be done in a single day. It is
depends on how long you're willing to play the game. I believe that I think that the runs that people have done from, like floor 0 to floor 200, which is the max. This is how people get like Necromancer. I think that the VODs on YouTube were like 8 hours long or something like that. So it takes quite a while. Yeah. Especially when you get to the later floors, because you have to avoid everything.
Yeah, but that's also probably someone who is doing it kind of as a speed run.
Oh yeah. Like I'm talking 8 hours as like mega speed run level. Someone who's super experienced at it, knows exactly what they're doing. Like if it was me,
they've done it multiple times.
I don't even know how high I've gone. I think I might have gone up to floor 100 once, because that's like part of the quest line. It's part of the quest to get to floor 100 once, and it's not too hard. I don't know if I went any further than 100. I'm not sure. I might have, but yeah.
I think on my Paladin, I got to 45, floor 45 or something.
You didn't even finish the first part of the quest.
No, not yet. I got bored, and also I couldn't follow the story, because of my Paladin, I never rate the early quests, so I got so bored with the game, because they were talking about things that I clearly should have known something about. And I was just going, what the fuck are they talking about?
It's an alternate... I think it's like an optional quest that you have to do of the adventurers in order to understand what is happening there. And then you even unlock like an additional dungeon once you finish that.
But to kind of explain a little, so when I replayed the game on my Black Mage from level 1, actually now paying attention to all of the quests, there's someone that you meet pretty early on in the game in Gridania that is one of the main characters of the Deep Dungeon Palace of the Dead. I didn't even know who that fucking character was on my Paladin. I was like, this makes no sense.
That was the same way that I played the game back in like 2013, which was like, I'm not reading quests. You're crazy.
Yep.
That's insane. I burned out so hard. And then people were like, no, read the quests, right? But just do these ones. Just do the meteor ones. Don't do all of them.
Yes. But I think that's what Torghast is going to become. I think that's what Blizzard is sort of hoping for.
A proper deep dungeon. That would be impressive. But it's like, in order for them to do that, they would need to master some way to sync you. Because that's the reason why this content is able to stay evergreen, is because you're not really able to just go into Palace of the Dead and burn everything down with overpowered gear. Like I have Biss. If I go to Palace of the Dead, that means absolutely nothing. It means literally nothing that I have Biss. As a matter of fact,
I think they can.
You could go into Palace of the Dead naked, and it's the same thing.
Yeah. You get literally a sword and an armor piece when you go in, and that's what you have. But no, I think they can do that already. I don't think that would be too hard for them to do. I know for a fact that they probably want to dive a little bit deeper into the talent system for Torghast, so they want to make it more or similar to what the class talent trees look like, where in Torghast your talents will become a lot more important. So I'm looking forward to whatever Blizzard have planned, because according to all of the interviews, everything that they add to Dragonflight or to Dragon Isles
is going to be evergreen.
Is evergreen. So they're constantly approaching it from the, if we make this system, it has to be a system that can exist in the future. It needs to be a system that we can build on in the future, which I am fully on board with. If Blizzard start doing shit like that, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be so cool because there's so much in WoW already. Like they don't even have to bring out new content. They can just bring forward some of the old content, and that will already make a lot of people very happy. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
We'll see how that pans out. We had another bit of news that we want to talk about, but we've gone on long enough, I feel like. But we'll just leave the message here because otherwise it's going to be like super outdated by the time we talk about it. But yeah, John Riccitiello is an asshole, and his whole thing about telling developers that if they're not considering monetization first for development, like that's some serious. He basically called people fucking idiots if they would not consider monetization first before considering the rest of their game.
What's interesting, I think his message was they're pure, brilliant, and fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Which I get what he's kind of saying there. They are pure, they are brilliant, because yes, they are pure. It is a purist gaming concept. Don't have monetization in your games. To not
consider monetization ahead of literally everything else. Yes, it's a very pure thing.
That is a very pure thing to do in the gaming industry, especially
which is greatly lacking, might we add.
Yep. And then he says brilliant, which again, he's correct. Because they are brilliant. Because gamers will actually support a company that says zero monetization. The fucking idiots bit is where I sort of feel there's a problem in his reasoning. Because in his mind, if you're not putting monetization in your game, you're leaving a lot of potential money on the floor, on the table, right? Because people don't have money to spend in your game. They're not going to spend money in your game. It's as simple as that. But I also think that their game design is going to run into some very serious trouble very quickly. Just before the stream, you and I spoke, and I wanted to give you a quick update on that as well. Load shedding, literally just got a message on my phone saying very high chance of load shedding recurring.
Oh no! God damn it, dude.
Yeah. Load shedding literally got cancelled yesterday, and there's a high chance that it's coming back. So fuck my life.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry.
It's life, man. But anyways, what I wanted to say was, so there's a global recession coming, and I don't want to make this about economics, but during recessions, people's livelihoods get wiped out. People's money get wiped out. A lot of people lose a lot during recessions. All of those millions and millions of dollars that they're making through monetization is gonna dry the fuck up.
I hope it does, dude. I fucking hope it does.
God, yes.
Fuck all of them, dude.
I will be fucking here for it. You want to know why?
I'll be laughing as these people like, can you please buy some microtransactions in our video game? And I'll be like, fuck your whole business model, buddy.
I mean, this is what's going to happen. Because here's the thing. Imagine if all you have at the end of the month, not even at the end of the month, so you just got your money. Say it's the 25th. You got all your money. You bought your food. You paid your house. You paid your car. You paid everything. And you have about $60 left. That's it. That's all you have left for the month. You have a choice. You can either spend that $60 on Diablo Immortal and know that that's going to do fuck all for you. Like, you're not going to get anywhere.
Literally nothing. Yep.
Or you can go on Steam and buy 2 or 3 indie games, or maybe a good AAA game like Witcher 3 or Cyberpunk or something like that that has no monetization, or Monster Hunter that has no like crappy monetization, or Elden Ring that has no monetization. What are you going to spend your money on? Most gamers are going to go for Elden Ring.
I'd like to believe so, but I feel like I've been proven wrong considering how many billions these people are throwing away at worthless fucking microtransactions.
So if there's one thing that recessions are really good at, it is at curing irrationality. Right now, humans in general are acting incredibly irrational because everyone's flush with cash. Everyone has a lot of money. So people are wasting it. They're wasting it on just about everything because people don't think that the party will stop. The party is stopping, and the party will stop. And once the party stops, There's an old saying that says, when it comes to your personal finances, everyone is an economist, right? Because as soon as you start realizing that, wait a second, I can't pay my bills. Life's getting fucking hard now. Then it becomes much harder to justify spending $100 on your favorite game. At that point, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to spend your money on something that will provide you the maximum amount of entertainment. Have you ever asked yourself why Riot Games, arguably one of the biggest names in gaming, decided to join forces with Microsoft? League of Legends and all of the Riot games are coming to the Xbox Game Store.
I know they have. I never thought why. I'll be real. I never thought about why. And now that you're talking about the recession, I'm like, huh.
It's fucking brilliant. They know that people are not going to buy champions when a recession hits. It's too expensive. They can't justify paying $25 for a champion. But if I'm paying $15 a month, I get access to League of Legends, all of its champions, all of the other champions for all of the Riot games, and over 200 games.
I was just thinking about this right now, and the thing that comes to mind is like, well, they could have done this subscription service themselves without Microsoft involved. But then when you think about that, it's like, yeah, but they'd be losing a lot of money. Whereas if they sell it to Microsoft, Microsoft's going to pay them a fat stack, and they're still going to get the thing.
I mean, Microsoft pay real good money for getting you on their platform first and foremost.
Yeah.
And then you also get a cut based on the amount of people that actually play your game that pay $15 a month. So I do believe that the Microsoft, the Xbox Game Pass is going to be one of the biggest winners during the recession.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you want to talk about $15 that you get to spend, and of that $15, you get over 200 fucking games to play to your heart's content, that is going to be a huge W.
Imagine if all of the people that are like burned out on World of Warcraft would actually swap their subscription for a couple of months of Game Pass. That would be such a fucking wake-up call for Blizzard. So many people would try out different gaming experiences, like, hey, this is actually pretty fun. I don't have to like sit all day in my house and fucking grind till my eyes bleed out. I can actually go have some fun in some different video games. Holy shit. What a revelation.
It's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. And this is where someone like Unity is going to wake up very early, very soon, and realize that, hey, people no longer have money to give to your games. They just don't.
No, it's like Unity is an engine. Like, that is very, very different. You can't, like... John Riccitiello is just a fucking imbecile who, you know, he worked at EA, therefore all he thinks about is fucking monetization. I mean, he fucking merged with a company that produces malware, for crying out loud. It's like, what the fuck are you doing, you imbecile? You absolute moron.
But remember, they're doing all of this with Unity in order to make it easier for people to add monetization to their games. This is the whole point of why I say they're soon going to find that more and more developers are moving away from monetization because players no longer want to play half-finished games. Players want to play a game that $10 and this game will provide entertainment for 100 hours.
I'm going to be real. If I was a software developer, right, and I was making a game on Unity, here's what I would do. I would finish that one project because I always like finishing the stuff that I do. I would finish that one project that I was working on, and then I would end any contracts, any business dealings that I would have with Unity because of what the CEO said. And I would go and I would just get in bed with Unreal Engine instead. It's like, fuck that shit, dude. Like, what the fuck?
I think there's a reason why a lot of indie developers don't actually get in bed with Unreal. It may be too pricey.
It's probably more expensive because it's obviously, I feel like Unreal's a little bit higher end than Unity. Not saying that Unity does not have potential to do amazing things. I think that Unreal might be easier to do, but the problem then becomes, it's like, right, if you use Unreal and you want to sell in Steam, you're going to get shafted a little bit, because if you use Unreal and you sell an Epic store, they're going to give you a lot of advantages to do that.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I think that might be one of the reasons why so many of them don't go to Unreal. It's because, then the Unreal business model is kind of built in a way to funnel the developers into the Epic store, which,
I can't remember how the monetization is set up. I know one of the two engines do an upfront price, but you don't then pay royalties on the games that you sell, whereas the other one doesn't do an upfront price, but they take 15% of every
all
sale
of that
you
stuff.
make.
All of that stuff is negotiated on a case-by-case basis, because also they also negotiate whether or not you show the engine logo at the start of your game. Because even just showing the engine logo, that is something that you can negotiate and be like, okay, we'll show your logo, and we'll pay less this amount for using your engine and shit like that. But that's why you have so many games that show the logo.
Yeah, but what I meant was that I know one of them is subscription based and the other one isn't. And I want to say Unity isn't subscription based. So for Unity, it's not a free engine. You can't just make your game in Unity and then pay money if the game sells. Whereas Epic and Unreal have this, you can make the game. I think literally anyone can download Unreal Engine right now and start making a game on it. Doesn't even matter. Yeah. But if you want to publish that game, as soon as you do publish that game, they're going to take a cut of every single sale that you make. And obviously you do have to register it before, so you'll know exactly what the cut is going to be before you launch the game. But as an indie company, and I think this is why a lot of indies don't actually use Unreal, is because that cut is usually very high. And as an indie company, you don't really have a lot of negotiating strength, right? Because if you tell Epic, I'm not paying you 15, I'm paying you 5, Epic's just going to be like, well, fuck you.
Yeah.
Then go use Unity, you bitch. Go pay the $100 and something thousand that it's going to be in order to get entry level fucking access to their engine.
Yeah. And then you have John Riccitiello being like, y'all are dumb. Y'all are so dumb. Imagine being that arrogant. Like, imagine you and me just going up to our audiences being like, y'all are so dumb.
Hey, my audience is fucking stupid.
Hey, though, so, yeah. What the fuck?
You should be on Twitch to hear it. Like,
no. Listen, my
audience
are Giga Chad, Giga Brain, gaming content enjoyers.
I wish I could say that, but that would require me being smart, and I'm not smart. So, basically, I set the average IQ level for my content.
Anyway, guys, that is going to be it for this episode of the Frozen Sodium Throne. If you guys enjoyed it, hit it up with a like if you're on YouTube, and if you're on Apple, which we fixed now, by the way, it's now available on Apple as well. On Apple or any other platform, then leave a review, whatever, 5-star, whatever it is that people do, because that helps it become more discoverable. Thank you all very much for watching. See you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe. Peace out.
Peace.